everybody, it is Julie. Welcome back to Pages and Pens. Today I am here with a Top 5 Wednesday. I think this might be the only one that I do for the month of July, but this was my top 5 favorite middle grade or children's books, and I really wanted to share my thoughts on this because I do have a couple that I really love, and a lot of them are ones that I've talked about a lot on this channel, but I do still think that they are worth discussing if you have younger kids or if you're interested in this genre and expanding a little bit. Some of these I think are pretty good for adults even. One of them is a classic, so let's just jump right in. I'm gonna start with the ones that I don't have physical copies of because one I listened to an audiobook and one I don't have copies of anymore. I know I do. I think they're at my parents' house up in the attic. So the first one is Furthermore by Tahereh Mafi. It is a gorgeous story about Alice, who is born in a colorful world where color equals magic, and she has no color. And that's obviously something that causes her to have a lot of like identity crisis issues and self-confidence problems. And then she has to go on a magical quest with a boy who's always kind of bullied her to find her father, who is missing, and she's apparently the only one that can help find her father, and they travel through these magical realms to find her father. And it's a beautiful story about friendship and about self-discovery and inner strength, and I ended up really liking it. It was all over BookTube a while back. I was nervous because I didn't know if it was going to be Tahereh Mafi's like typical voice where it was very lyrical and whimsical and like early Shatter Me series, but it wasn't. It was gorgeous. So if you've been hesitant about that, but you've been interested in a middle grade book, I really do recommend it. I thought it was a beautiful story. The next book is actually a series, and it's one that I binge read all the time when I was younger, and that is the Babysitter's Club series. And I think I've mentioned this in a tag before, but I was fanatical about the Babysitter's Club. Anytime we had a book fair, I would buy whatever Babysitter's Club books I hadn't already put on my shelves. I absolutely loved it. I prided myself on having the entire collection that I pray is still up in my parents' attic. I love that book so much because A, it showed a great group of diverse friends who had different interests but still came together to form a business. Like, what other book was telling young girls that they could be entrepreneurs that made money? Every little girl, at least that I knew, I mean, I babysat, but I looked at these friends who literally took babysitting to a business level, ran it very professionally, were strong, were independent, they had fights, but they got over it, they worked through it, dealt with first relationships, you dealt with money, you dealt with budgets, you dealt with discourse. They would have arguments within their group, and then you had their younger siblings that came into play eventually, and sibling relationships, and then their relationships with these different kids and these different families that showed you how responsible children behaved and responsible women acted and how mistakes were corrected. And I think it's just such a wonderful series for young girls to read. It's a great series, and I ended up really loving it, identifying with it, and I think that that holds true now. I don't see any kids really reading it now. I asked my niece whether it's something that she read. She said no, she's 11. And I just think that it was something that was really pivotal and really influential on me growing up that I wish more kids were actually still reading, because I think it's a really valid, really great series for kids. Then we have one that I'm throwing in there because you guys know it's not one of my videos unless I talk about it. What is it? Do you know what it is? I feel like you know what it is. Do we know what it is? It's The Labyrinth. Now, this is a movie, but the novelization is actually really good. It's pretty true to the movie. There's a couple different changes, so if you haven't watched the movie a bajillion times like I have, you may not notice them, but there are like slight little changes in this. Nothing huge. But I loved the novelization of this, and it was nice to consume the story in a different way. And I think that, again, this shows you a really strong girl who, granted, is pretty bratty at the beginning of things, kind of coming into her own, finding strength without a love interest. There's a love interest, but she obviously is not falling prey to it. It's just a really great story. It's whimsical, it's imaginative. I love everything about it. Problem solving and inner strength. I thought it was a fantastic movie, and it made for a really good book. Next up, I'm going to mention the School for Good and Evil series by Soman Chainani. I've read books 1, 2, and 3, and now 4, 5, and 6 are also coming out. I believe 4 comes out, I think, next year. I'm not sure. I know he just released the title of it. I don't know if he released the release date. This is a series about 2 girls who are friends. One who lives in a cemetery and is very dark and considered ugly. The other one who's blonde and beautiful, lives on the house on the hill. And they are taken from their town and brought to magical schools. One for good and one for evil. One for fairy tale princes and princesses, and one one for the fairy tale villains. The girls are put into schools that they don't anticipate being dropped into, and then the story picks up from there. I liked this series. It does have its problems. This was a Job on the Librarian's Book Club of the Month. I will put the link to our discussion on that up there because some issues were brought up from this story. But in general, I thought it was a really fun, really quick read. Interesting enough for adults to be reading. All of us are adults that were reading this series, and the reviews were kind of mixed, but I think in general, everybody really enjoyed this read. So I am a fan. And then last up is my all-time favorite children's classic. It's one that I loved as a little girl, and it's one that I've reread recently as an adult, and one that I'm really happy to have on my bookshelves because I just think it's a beautiful story. I think more sentimental than anything else, but it is a gorgeous tale. So that is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgkins Burnett, and this is the Barnes & Noble's edition that I picked up, and it's just gorgeous, and I love the little string, the ribbon bookmark. These end pages are like floral and gorgeous. The book itself is just very, very pretty. Little illustrations inside. So this is a story about a girl who grows up very rich in India, I believe, and she's grown up with au pairs and nannies and people kind of waiting on her hand and foot, but a sickness spreads, everybody in her house dies, she's the only one left alive, she's found and she's sent to live with her uncle, who's like very recluse and he's not home very often. She's really being raised by the household staff. She hears this mysterious wailing in the middle of the night, follows it, and finds his crippled son, and their friendship goes on from there. And it's about her kind of coming into her own as well, learning that life is not all that, you know, she knew it to be, and watching her change from this spoiled child into a really caring, loving kid. Love this story, and I love having this edition up on my shelves, and it's just one of my all-time favorite children's books, let alone classics. I just think it's a gorgeous tale, and obviously like a physically gorgeous book. So if you're interested in a classic but you don't want to take on like Moby Dick, maybe give this one a try if you haven't read it yet. It is really, really good. Those have been my top 5 favorite middle grade and children's books. I hope that you've enjoyed this. If you have any of your own, definitely let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear them. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to give me a big old thumbs up, click subscribe, and I will see all of you in my next video. Bye guys.